The Batman, directed by Matt Reeves and starring Robert Pattinson, took the world by storm a few years ago and recently received a direct-to-streaming spin-off series starring Colin Farrell as the Penguin. And it was watching this very spin-off that got me thinking about the Batman again. I haven't been able to get it off my mind lately, and I couldn't figure out why because I enjoyed the Batman when it first came out, but recent rewatches left me feeling dissatisfied. Each time I've watched the film, I've found my opinion of it steering in a more negative direction, but I couldn't quite articulate what was bothering me about the movie. So recently I decided to do a thorough watch-through while taking notes to see if I could separate out my feelings and try to look at the objective issues in the film, and oh boy, was I surprised to find that this movie, while beautiful on the surface, was, in fact, rotten to the core. Now, before I lose you, I want to explain what I mean, and to do that I need to give you a brief overview of how I watch films with a critical eye. This won't be the first time you've heard it, because the objective versus subjective art criticism conversation on YouTube has been raging on for some time, but I feel I should make my perspective clear so you know what you're getting from me before you dive into this video, because you may be here a while. There's two ways I think about movies: whether I like it, and whether it's good. Many people would be confused and say, but those are the same thing! I'm sorry, but no, they are not. A good movie is one that is of high quality in the execution of its storytelling goals, both from a technical perspective and from a scriptwriting perspective. A movie that I personally enjoy can be of any quality because my feelings on the film are entirely subjective to my personal tastes. For example, I love the Mortal Kombat movies from the 90s, even though I know they're hot garbage, but I have so much fun watching those terrible dumpster fires. And on the other hand, Titanic is one of the most successful and technically impressive films ever put to screen. And yet, it bores the hell out of me. So when I say that a film is bad, please know that I'm trying to be as objective as possible about the individual filmmaking aspects that go into the movie, completely separated from my personal feelings on the film. And The Batman is a perfect example of just such a film, and I will attempt to explain to you why by starting off with the positive aspects that I found enjoyable. Also, it's better to get the good stuff out of the way first, because it won't take that long. The things that this film does well are down to the technical execution. Lighting, cinematography, music, set/production design, makeup and costumes, and while it isn't typically counted among the technical side, the acting performances. This film is beautiful to look at. It nails the tone and atmosphere of Gotham City. It feels dark and brooding and crime noir, and that is a perfect fit for a Batman film. The shots themselves are creative when and where possible, with some great close-ups, some POV shots, wide angles for the fight scenes to capture the fight choreography in all its glory. The music for this film is hands down my favorite thing about the movie, and for good reason. Michael Giacchino is one of my favorite composers, and he absolutely knocked it out of the park here. The main theme was a worm in my brain for months after I first watched the movie. I would hum it at work anytime I was walking somewhere or doing something incredibly mundane because it made everything feel more epic. The other pieces in the film are equally as captivating and unique. The tense violin music during the investigation scenes that add that creepy Mindhunter-like atmosphere. Catwoman and Riddler's themes are excellent, and they give you a good sense of the characters even before they speak a line of dialogue. The makeup is also on point here, for one character in particular, which leads us right into performances. This movie has an all-star cast, and while I would have made a few different casting choices, all the actors turn in excellent performances, with Colin Farrell's Penguin being the obvious standout, even under all that makeup. I include acting in this group because it is a major part of the physical execution of putting what's in the script on screen, and in that respect, this film executes the script beautifully. All the physical elements behind Matt Reeves' vision for Batman and Gotham are superbly realized. It's his vision for Batman and the script itself where all the problems lie. This script, and what it does to all these classic comic book characters, is a steaming pile of batshit. And it's only because of the surface-level look and feel of the movie that nobody noticed. Like I said, the movie looks great, sounds great, and it feels like the live-action Batman detective story we Batman fans have been waiting for most of our lives. Sadly, this is all surface-level set dressing to disguise a nonsensical story full of plot holes and inconsistent characters who barely resemble their comic book counterparts and the source material they come from. Long story short, The Batman tricked you into thinking it was a good film. Don't feel too bad, it tricked me too, and for quite a long time. It was only just recently I gave it a more critical eye and I've found all the problems that it has. So, now that we've gotten what it does right out of the way, I'm going to break down for you all the things it does wrong, which entirely comes down to the writing. I don't want to discount all the positive aspects I just talked about, but we must measure the pros and cons for doing certain things well in a film and others poorly. Film is a visual and auditory medium. It requires good cinematography, sound design, etc., but it also requires a well written script with well written characters who behave consistently and do things that make some sort of sense that the audience can follow to tell a satisfying story. I don't think we can accurately divide it up into percentages, but if I had to ballpark it, I would call it 50% technical execution and 50% writing. So, if it looks and sounds great, but the story and characters are retarded, we're looking at a 5 out of 10 at best, and that's being generous. Most audiences are not critics and won't look past what's right in front of them, but many people who reviewed this film at least agreed that the third act felt silly and tacked on and made the film way longer than it needed to be. That shows potential for others to be able to catch on to mistakes or gaps in logic in the script, which means that the problems in the writing could easily lower their enjoyment. Personally, I find it hard to just enjoy the pretty colors and ignore what I'm hearing and seeing, plot and character-wise, but maybe that's just me. So, from here on out, I will be addressing the three major categories of writing issues I found with this movie: the plot, the characters, and the themes. One last thing I wanted to talk about before I get started breaking down the plot is adaptation. A lot of my favorite YouTube critics and commentators have different opinions on how important it is to consider the accuracy of a film or TV adaptation of previous source material. Some say that you should judge a work first on its own merits and only use comparison to the source material as sort of a recreational point of conversation. Others believe accuracy to the source, or at least to the themes and messages of the source, are critical to the overall quality of the film because it is an adaptation of someone else's work. I'm somewhat torn on where I fall because I do believe it is possible to make a good film and for it to still be a poor adaptation of the source material. Joker is an excellent example of a film that deviates heavily from the source but still tells a great story in its own right. This is somewhat subjective, but my gut opinion is that if you make changes from the source and it doesn't result in a higher quality product, then you made a poor choice since you could have just stuck with the original. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Unforgivable changes are ones that betray the characters from their source and the spirit of the ideals they stand for. Joker 2, funnily enough, is an excellent example of this because it betrays the character and the film that directly preceded it. Unfortunately, the Batman commits this cardinal sin against Batman, so adaptation arguments will be on the table for this video. Okay, all the preamble is out of the way, so now we can start. I'm going to go through the film scene by scene and see how far we can get before we run into any major issues. I'll do my best to sort out nitpicks, meaning small issues that, while being accurate criticisms, don't affect the story, from film-breaking plot holes and character inconsistencies and contradictions. Without further ado, let's get into the plot of The Batman.